at a time when the young largely live their real lives on reels. A class 9 student from one of the top schools in Bengaluru posted 2 of her pictures on her private Instagram account, a private Instagram group. And soon they were morphed into AI-generated nudes, according to her parents, who have filed a complaint with the Bengaluru Cyber Police. Well, photograph of another student from the same school seemed to have been morphed in the same manner, but we don't know yet if it was AI linked or deepfake itself. In this case, it's an insider that seems to be a suspect in this case. The student, the girl, thinks this has to be an insider because this was just a very private group of just about 20 students. Now remember, posting pictures on social media groups is largely a norm among most, particularly the young. In this case, it was a private account with 20 school friends. In many cases, usually these pictures may not be even posted in a closed group, instead an open or public platform. After all, it's the nature of teenagers to push boundaries. The complaint by parents have thrown up a huge concern. They have referred to the artificial intelligence generated morphed images, or what is usually known as deepfakes. A deepfake is an image, audio or video that has been synthetically created or manipulated using machine or learning technology to fake or alter someone's appearance, voice or actions. Deepfakes can be particularly deceptive because viewing a depiction or hearing a voice of a person you recognize is fundamentally different from reading or hearing a false story about them. And given that AI tools continue to improve, the concerns of believability become even greater. While AI-generated morphed videos or images may not be widely heard of in schools in India yet, according to official data, in the West, several instances have been reported. According to the international educator, El País reported a story from Spain where dozens of girls reported their deep-faked AI-generated nude photographs being circulated in their community. At a high school in New Jersey, teenage boys targeted their female peers with deepfake nudes, generating worldwide coverage as a cautionary example of something that is frightening prospect for parents, young people and schools everywhere. Another incident reported at a school in Rio de Janeiro involved middle school students creating and sharing deepfake pornographic images of around 20 of their classmates. And a teacher in Texas was targeted by a student who digitally created fake revealing photos of her, then shared the explicit images online. There are several instances. But the challenge is, while there are growing research that shows schools are a breeding ground and a huge possible threat of using AI deepfakes in shocking, humiliating ways, there's very less, at least in India, in terms of data or in terms of ability to train children, either to equip them to recognize deepfakes, to equip them to moderate their social media content. In India, there are no specific laws currently against deepfakes. By last November end, Ministers Rajiv Chandrasekhar as well as Ashwini Vaishnav had indicated a plan to announce new detailed rules after an advisory for social media to act on deepfakes. Within 36 hours, non-compliance could risk losing immunity, according to that advisory. Currently, various sections of the IT Act are enforced against such crimes. There are so many aspects to what we are trying to unravel currently, trying to understand. We've got stakeholders, experts from different domains who are going to be joining us at this point. I'm being joined by Advocate N.S. Napinai, who is an advocate with the Supreme Court, as well as the founder for CyberSaath. Thank you very much for joining us. I'm also being joined by Kazim Rizvi, who's a founding director, The Dialogue, D. Shashi Kumar, a parent from Karnataka and the General Secretary for Karnataka Private School Association. And I'm also going to be joined in a short while from now by Brijesh Singh, who's an Additional Director General for the Maharashtra Police. Thank you very much, all three of you, for joining us. D. Shashi Kumar, if I could come to you first. What are
Yes,
the questions on your mind at this point?
like it is really a bad situation, especially in India. Most of the school teenagers, they are indulging without their parents' knowledge, within their parents' mobile. They are trying to indulge in all type of attention-seeking social media get-togetherness, creating their own peer group and exchanging they if they have any jealousy, hatred, or something goes on wrong and bullying, all things are happening, and we do regularly see this, and we are constantly giving awareness to the parents that please do not be careless on your mobile phones usage, especially even as young as 10 years old they have smartphones, and the phones are being completely given out and no control or no
True.
monitoring is happening at by and large. And not only this type of social gathering on social media, but it is also beyond that, that is online games, online shoppings, and many things are going on, and we do have several evidences, and we have
Okay.
even in Karnataka we have given some certain complaints to the cyber and government of Karnataka education department, so that some rules and regulations and some strict stringent actions would be taken on even parents who are being like they are getting misused and they are causing even the other community, that is children's community, harm. This is no way different from like even with the two-wheeler or a four-wheeler driving. When you give out the under
Okay.
age children
No, you're
the
making fair
vehicle, the
points, sir.
parents
I
would be held
understand you're
responsible.
extremely concerned about what's happening. No, that's
Yes.
absolutely correct. I can understand your concerns at this point, and we'll come to you. I'm sure you have more questions to ask as well. If I can just come to you, Advocate N.S. Napinai. Now, let's look at this particular case that has happened. You know, one of the terms that the parent in this particular discussion used was attention seeking habits, or modes, if that may be. Now, that may not really be an attention seeking because this is the mode of communication for many now, particularly among the young. Like how at one point face to face talking, going out for walks would be a mode of communication for maybe one part of those who are alive in the world today, another generation possibly. But even my generation for that matter, there are a lot of young people who have their existence on social media. And in this particular case, it was a private group, it was a closed group, so I'm assuming at least the basic safety norms would have been in place. It was a private group, it was only 20 students who were part of that group, and yet you have a situation which is extremely worrying at so many levels.
I would put it slightly differently. It doesn't matter even if it is attention seeking. So what? It still doesn't permit a criminal to commit a crime like this. So, I think it's now time for us to stop preaching to the victim and start highlighting to the criminals that this kind of conduct is a crime in India. They can be traced, they can be tracked, and they can be prosecuted. And for all these to happen, firstly, yes, awareness about what amounts to a crime, how to keep yourself safe, hygiene, cyber hygiene, as we call it, is necessary for all of us. But it is not our fault if our rights have been violated, it is the criminal's fault. So, explaining to, I mean, like in this particular instance, Shreya, it appears that the parents have accused possibly the closer group of friends as, or one of them as the possible culprits, which means we are talking about a young teenager. It's important for them to know when they're crossing the line and that this kind of conduct is not a prank, it is a crime. So, this kind of knowledge or awareness, not just to keep ourselves safe, but also to ensure that we don't cross that line, is very critical. Parents spend a lot on many things, students also do. Strangely, what I've noticed in all the time I've taken in terms of creating this awareness is enough people are not interested in spending for getting better understanding of this awareness, knowing what technology can do. Where do you protect yourself and how do you protect yourself? Where do you catch the problem at the earliest possible time? That is something that they have to invest in, and that would be a strong piece of advice. But as you rightly put it earlier itself, the
Okay.
law is there to help them. Here, the parents have gone ahead and filed a criminal complaint. But even without the criminal complaint, today the intermediary guidelines mandate that in a case like this, which involves nudity, including whether it's morphed, AI generated, or deepfake, which is also kind of AI generated content, it doesn't matter how the content was created, but where it involves content such as this, within 24 hours of a platform being informed, they have to ensure that it is taken down. They have to ensure that it is blocked. Now, these are remedies which are available to you today because of developments in terms of laws that have come out from the Supreme Court of India as precedent law and now as part of delegated legislation also. So it's really important for parents and students
Okay.
and users, all of us as users, to know that remedies such as these are available for us.
Right. Kazim Rizvi, if I can come to you. And there may be many people. This topic, this issue, the question particularly that I'm going to ask you has been asked of experts so many times, but there are so many who still are not very well versed with it. So I don't think it's a bad idea to ask you this question again. There were morphed images in the past as well. There used to be morphed images, there used to be edited videos, there used to be fake videos, there used to be nudes in the past as well. In the time of social media era, even before. What changes with AI or with deepfakes?
I think the main thing which to answer your question which has changed is the ability of people to be able to create deep fakes at ease, right? And I think in the current AI era, we are seeing that there are many tools which are available on the internet and across different platforms, which allows it very simply for a user to generate deep fakes or morph images. I think because the access has increased, we are also witnessing subsequent increase in proliferation and dissemination of deep fakes, right? So I think number one, what we need to focus is on limiting or preventing access of people especially with malicious intent or bad intent, to be able to create deep fakes or morph images. That's number one. The second is around limiting the proliferation of such deep fakes when these deep fakes are created and published on the internet. Now we are seeing that there are platforms who are taking action when it comes to certain tools. For example, we've seen that Google has removed Face Swap app from the Play Store. So what we need a concerted action right from the beginning, where platforms are taking the steps to continuously check and ensure that tools or applications which are focused on building deepfakes are
Okay.
removed from their stores, right? That's very important. Once that is done, we also have to make sure that these apps don't come up in new forms, right? And a lot of the times we've also seen that it's very easily available for people to create and people to use these applications. So it has to be some sort of scrutiny when it comes to this. Number two is around the proliferation of the content. And I think here we need to invest in detection technologies which are AI driven, which ensure that whenever there is a deep fake or a obscene morph image which has been published on the internet, which is circulating the rounds of social media, there are state-of-the-art sophisticated detection tools which can detect these images or videos and then take them down as per the law, which they also heard before in this show. So I think we have to have these two things
All
in
right.
place
Okay.
properly if we are to fight the menace, because I believe regulation alone is not enough. You can come up with the strictest of the strictest law, but because of the nature of the internet, because of the volume of content which is being uploaded on a daily basis, You need
Hmm.
technological tools, technological solutions to counter this problem. There's a saying in Hindi, "Loha lohe ko kaatta hai." Similarly, to beat this menace of AI-generated deepfakes, you have to use AI. And in our IT rules, it's
Right.
very clear that platforms should, on best efforts basis, proactively monitor and take down content, etc., etc. So that is there in the law. How well this is being implemented,
Okay.
I think that is the question
Sure.
we all have to ask, and we all have to also ensure that
Sure.
platforms are investing in the right amount of technologies, because the ability of people to create
That's right. No,
deepfakes with
I
ease
also want to
is
come to
increasing.
you. Absolutely. And that's why possibly it's very important to even try and understand what are the ways that you can really identify deepfakes. But allow me to just go to the other panelists before I return to you with this question. D. Shashi Kumar, you represent an important organization. You are a Karnataka Private School Association's General Secretary. Are there measures to collaborate with schools to come out with policies with respect to this, to be able to equip children? Is this even a talking point among schools and parents when it comes to this? Or is it far from that at this point?
At this point, definitely it is far, but we are also regularly with government of Karnataka, cyber crime and cyber safety security. We are trying to give awareness to school owners, school teachers, so that they carry it down the lane, and even awareness are created among parents and childrens. The one more biggest challenge is, like many times, like even in the bomb scare email threat case, nothing has been found still. The technology is so fantastic, so wide, but unfortunately we are unable to pin down the culprits. That is causing repeatedly occurrence of this type of incident. Similarly, even in such cases, whether it is a AI generated morphing images, and one who has done, if he doesn't been booked under law, then naturally others will have a Pandora box to explore such things and show their hatred or jealousy or whatever it is. And more cases may happen. That is our worrying. That is our worrying. Government of India, government of respective state has to take very seriously, because it is connected with right of a child. Because one child has to be protected from another child, or one person, I mean, children's or children's. Even other people are trying to harm this category,
Okay.
and even
All
they are
right.
harming themselves. All these things has to be comprehensively taught and get into a proper law, so that that has been enforced strictly. But by and large, without hammering down the
Okay.
culprits, it is very difficult to see that the cases will not be once again repeated.
No, you're making an important point, and I think I have the right person to answer that question as well. I'm being joined by Brijesh Singh right now, who's the Additional Director General for Maharashtra Police. Thank you very much, sir, for joining us. My question to you, and one of the parents on our group was raising, he represents a parents association, and he's raising this question that there may be instances like this, but what about finding the person who's behind it, about the accused? Just wanted to get a sense of it for parents also to understand this issue is largely with AI linked technology, with the
Deepfakes.
morphing, but how is it dealt under the Indian laws? Does it have enough teeth?
To nail it down.
Uh, See, there are sufficient provisions in law, whether be it POCSO, whether be it IPC, whether be it IT Act, where there are specific provisions where once such a crime has been committed, it can be reported, investigated, and the accused can be booked. However, the problem is in actually getting data for investigation and evidence for investigation. So today, where is this data? The data is with platforms. The platforms track you on everything. The platforms know where you live, what time you get up, what time you eat, what is your financial status, whether the mobile is in your hand, whether you are clicking, how much time did you dwell on something. They know everything about you. They also know whether an account is engaging into such kind of malicious activities. And there is a huge responsibility on these platforms where they should understand that that people's life, people's reputations are at stake. People's dignity is at stake because of this kind of free and unrestricted use of these platforms for malicious purposes. Now, with generative AI, it has become very easy to generate deepfakes. Any photograph can be taken, and generative AI has its good uses, but you can command the generative AI to produce any kind of images. Now, there is no limit. But let me tell you that everything leaves a
Okay,
digital
I
footprint,
think we
and
have
this
an issue
digital
with.
footprint has to be tackled during investigation. It has to be the digital footprint has to be tracked during investigation, but the data of all this is with the platforms. However, during investigations, it is very, very difficult to get
So you're
this
saying
data.
that digital footprint can be tracked? Is it easily trackable? Why I'm asking you this question? Like, for example, in this particular case, usually those who would be posting these nudes or whatever the morphed images would be, or videos for that matter, deep fakes, they would be from anonymous groups. So if it's an anonymous person who's posting it, one, is it easy? Is it possible to track the footprints, to be able to track this person? Secondly, are there collaborations between agencies to be able to track this? Is this something that exists currently with respect to particularly India? Of course, this is not, it cannot be seen in isolation.
Technically, it is possible. Technically, there are so many different markers. Right from it has to be posted from one account. So the account opening details, the details of that customer, IP address, device address. You leave 1,000 kind of footprints on the web. However, the problem is that this kind of footprint lies in different jurisdictions with different laws. So there is a jurisdictional arbitrage here. And it is very, very difficult because I would say that the platforms do not cooperate to the extent that they should. They should voluntarily report. See, to the US government, there's an organization called NECMEC, which is a voluntary National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, where these people voluntarily report all such activities, all such crime. But when it comes to India, they are not voluntarily reporting. And it is the duty of these platforms, especially after the Digital Media Intermediary Ethics Code of 2021, there is a responsibility upon these platforms. But I would also say that there is a responsibility on the user, that users should also be very careful about what they post, what use it can, what malicious uses it can be taken. See,
Right.
children, when they are harming each other,
So
also, they are
I'm afraid
not
I think we
knowing
have
what
some
harm it
signal
can cause in
issues.
the long term. So there
No,
is a
you're
need for
making a
awareness.
very valid point. So I think we have some live unit issue. We'll just get back to you. We'll try and fix that and get back to you as well. But Advocate N.S. Napina, you heard what Brijesh Singh was saying, some very important points there. Let me just continue with what he is saying at this point. In this Bengaluru case, you have one case where the parents have come and filed a complaint. There's another case that seems to have emerged in the same school after the parents complained, but there was no complaint in that particular case because we can only sit and assume why there was no complaint, but it's easy to get into those assumptions because one can even fathom what that family or that child would have been going through. It's still, even though we are talking about AI, a very different realm, the culture of shame still percolates just the way it did several decades ago.
Absolutely right. In fact, one of the saddest cases from the southern part of India was with respect to morphed imagery being circulated through a chat app and unfortunately resulted in the girl committing suicide. So it does not matter if it is a person's nude imagery or if it is morphed or deep fakes or AI generated or computer generated imagery, CGI as we call it. The impact on the victim is equally harsh, and it's therefore essential to protect against this. So, there were two things that came out in the discussions today. The first, and therefore I felt it was critical to highlight that the issue about using AI to root out AI induced crimes is already part of the Supreme Court judgment I told you about, which is in the case of Prajwala, where the court has already passed orders directing big tech to develop AI enabled technology to find and root out nude or it's very specific to child sexual abuse material and to offense violence against women, imagery of violence against women. Considering that the particular instance we are talking today is of a minor, it does fall under the CSAM category. Therefore, the first part is we already have been ahead of the crowd in terms of the Supreme Court laying down the law through a precedent law in the Prajwala case of directing big tech to develop AI to find such content and take it down. And the case is very critical, Sneha, because it also laid down that any subsequent uploads of similar content also has to be blocked, because once you have identified the content, then it is easy for you to block the same and to also go backwards to see if it has been uploaded from any other URL. Even that can be blocked. Then once the content is identified, then it's very easy to trace and remove it from different platforms also. So this is something that already
Right.
came out of the Supreme Court judgment and forms part of the law. In terms of what Brajesh Singh was saying also, that the intermediary guidelines, which I spoke about earlier too, that again enables you in terms of providing support for investigation. And one point I wanted to highlight there, I know it's a bit of a legal point, but platforms are necessitated under law to support investigation. So if they are called upon to give some information, they have to provide it for investigation. They cannot refuse it. At the very least, they lose their safe harbor under Rule 7 if they don't give the cooperation. At the highest level, they may also face prosecution. So this is a very serious issue. And I would say that it is not
Right.
that easy for platforms to avoid their liability.
Right. In fact, if I could come to you, Kazim Rizvi, and if you could spend a minute and a half maybe just trying and explain, we had these Rashmi Mandaka, Rashmi, the actor Rashmi, the deepfake case with her. We had Sachin Tendulkar. We have had several celebrities who have had these deepfake cases as well. What would you tell viewers who will be watching you right now? How would be the best ways to identify whether this is a deep fake or not?
Look, I think there are a few ways. One is that if you see a deepfake video, it's not a very smooth video. There are certain breaks. There are certain gaps which you can identify to say, okay, it seems like the face is morphed on a body or whatever that may be, right? The same goes with the quality of the video. There are certain ways to determine, okay, the quality is not great. The sound quality is different. Or there are certain lags when it comes to the sort of the video when it's being played, etc. But I think more importantly, it's necessary for us to devise mechanisms to be able to trace the originator of the deepfake video, right? So let's suppose if person X posts a video and it gets circulated across social media platforms and it gets very, very quickly, how do you determine where this video is coming from, right? And I think that's where there are certain technologies which are being developed when it comes to cryptographic asset hashing to create tamper-evident signatures, which ensures that any alteration of the image or metadata is traceable, right? So there are certain projects which are being undertaken right now. You have the content provenance efforts, which the industry is taking up. I think the most important part here for law enforcement also is to determine the traceability, the trace of where the deepfake originated from. And these are some of the technologies which are also already being used. Another technology is digital watermarking credentials, right? So I think that's very essential to again trace back the content to its publisher, which of course preserve the integrity of information. So it's not in current times impossible to be able to detect it timely, and I think timely detection is critical, be it by the user, and user can also report it. And I think there's a Misinformation Combat Alliance right now, which publishes all the deepfakes videos, and I think users report it. There are certain helplines as well, which the users can report to social media platforms to say, okay, this looks like a deepfake. Probably it is a deepfake. So awareness is critical over here. But I do want to highlight the role of, even from a victim point of view, how important it is to rehabilitate and to focus our efforts towards making sure that the mental health of the victim is not impacted. I think those efforts have to be undertaken as well by the society, by the state, while awareness at the school level. And when I say school, I mean class 6, class 7, class 8. That this is not a prank. This is something very serious. This is a
That's
criminal
right.
offense. You should not be creating
Right.
groups where you are posting mock images of your friend, of your classmate. I think we really need to step up the education system when it comes to enhancing awareness related to deepfakes, related to online harms, etc., while also focusing on rehabilitation. So I think it has to be a whole of society approach, not just limiting to one aspect, which is regulation. Regulation is necessary, but I think you have to build upon an ecosystem where you're bringing awareness, you're informing, you're working with parents. 10-year-old
Absolutely, you're
kids
making very valid
ideally
points,
should
and I
not be
think
having mobile
unfortunately,
phones.
India is lacking when it comes to equipping young people with awareness about all of these things. Even just simple skills of how to identify this, how to work their way around this. All of these things, particularly in schools as well, we haven't opened up to that ecosystem yet the way we should. But my last question to you, Brijesh Singh, while we are talking about this, about how the rehabilitation of the victims in this case, the social support systems in this case, I have a question to you. Is this really being seen as a crime that has enough bandwidth to be tackled by when it comes to the law enforcers? Why I'm asking you this question, because now we don't have this being reported on a large scale in India. From what I have been seeing, we don't have this reported large scale. But if you look at the cases in the West, there have been series of cases, so many of them high profile and so many otherwise also being reported in schools. But are Indian law enforcement agencies, are they equipped enough with the strength, with the training to be able to handle this with what seems to be only cases that are only going to increase?
So, see, there are many layers to this. The first is content takedown, evidence preservation, and then getting data for investigation. All of this rests with the platform, and this has been provided for under the intermediary guidelines of 2021, where you can ask for the content to be taken down, and this can be done by the victim or the individual who has been affected. Not only that, Indian laws also allow for compensation in such cases. Um, as far as investigation is concerned, investigation is basically regarding forensics, device forensics. Uh, basically investigation also around motivations and capabilities of who must have done it. But once, let's say, if you get data, let's say an IP address or a device, then I think we have efficient investigators. We have very good forensic capabilities. At least in Maharashtra, we have forensic capabilities at par with anybody in the world. We are definitely working on increasing both the capacity and capability of our police to investigate cyber crimes. However, I think a large part of the data remains again, and a large part of responsibility, right from like Rizvi was saying that once an image has been uploaded, or probably Napina was saying that once an image has been uploaded, it should be hashed and it should be seen that it is not uploaded anywhere again, and a hash bank can be created. Similarly, there are algorithms to identify whether an image or a video has been generated using AI.
Right.
And today it is extremely difficult because the quality of AI generated image in real time is so good that in a particular case, somebody impersonated somebody on Zoom with voice and video, so that it resulted in a cybercrime worth millions of dollars. So I understand that investigation is difficult, but there are definitely digital footprints, but this data remains with the platforms, which I think it is a bounded duty of the platforms to cooperate with law enforcement and give them when it is required, where we have sufficient capabilities of forensics to identify and bring the culprit to book.
Right. I think AI has huge potential to change the way we look at things, to change the way we operate things. But AI also has challenges that come along with it, and crime, areas of crime being one of them. Brijesh Singh, Advocate N.S. Napinai, Kazim Rizvi, as well as D. Shashi Kumar, thank you very much for joining us, for bringing in your perspectives. We do hope that our viewers are more equipped than when they began watching this show. Thank you very much.